LPJ. We finna get right with inside advice. Some ill entertainment, industry insight. Listen, it's like sitting, building up on the yard. HU, the Bison Chats, the Vanguard. HU, you know.
What up, people? Welcome back to the Yard and the Bison Chats. I'm your host, Roddy Mel, a graduate of Howard University. At least that's what the papers say. The Bison Chats is a podcast where we interview an HU Bison in the entertainment industry. This podcast is in association with the Kelly R. Griffin Bison Project, From Howard to Hollywood, Psycho 2, a feature film project that will be written, produced, directed, and starring Howard University Bison. How about that? Usually you would hear gurgling or pouring. That means it's noon somewhere on some college campus and we are doing some social drinking in the studio. But for some reason, I am on the wagon. So, I must remind you, that doesn't mean you all out in the Bison Chat audience cannot partake in the Bison Chats drinking game, which means each and every time you hear the word Bison, you take a shot of an alcoholic beverage. Not a juice, not a water, an alcoholic beverage. So get your drink, get your shot glass. Bison, 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 you're already behind. Catch up. On today's Bison Chat, we have a man who is, of course, a Howard graduate, a writer, a research assistant, a microbiologist, a producer, a native of Minnesota, creator of the Underworld film series, writer of comic books, all Marvel, DC, and the indie type. He's an actor, CEO of his own comic book company, Darkstorm, a Vikings fan, a father, creator of the Blue Marvel character, and the owner of the true OG deep voice that I cannot even touch. People have told me I have a deep voice, but you know what? I am a bitch. Where you hear. I welcome to the Yard, Mr. Kevin Grevioux. Welcome, my friend.
How you doing, man?
I am great. What is going on with you? It is. I mean, as we were talking before, last time we saw each other was at Comics Inc. Both fan of comics and stuff like that. Like I said, I remember you had your little one, and what is going on with you right now?
A lot of things. Still writing. Getting into television now.
Okay.
Yeah, which is good. Mm-hmm. I sold an animated TV series to Nickelodeon.
Oh, congrats.
Yeah, exactly. Based on one of my comic books.
Really?
Yeah. So I'll be doing a lot with that. Lord,
can you speak on it?
I can say a little bit in that we're in development with it right now.
Okay.
And I've just been given a green light to go to script. So that's a good thing.
That's a great thing.
Yeah, exactly.
That means the check might get cut. And not one that you have to go to the liquor store and cash. Or go to Mr. D's.
I get Mr. D's.
You may have to and take out 2%.
I know.
Yeah.
I know. But he used to complain that we didn't buy anything.
You don't buy anything. That's why I take 2%.
Man, maybe came down to those prices.
Tell me, because you were born in Chicago.
Yeah, born in Chicago.
Raised in Bloomington.
Yeah, Minnesota, and then lived a number of different places. I mean, my parents went to school at Harvard, for grad school.
Okay.
And then we moved to New Jersey, where we were for a couple of years, and then before I got to Howard, my senior year, my parents moved the family to Oakland.
Really?
Yeah. So I was there for 10 months before I came to Howard.
So you did graduate Skyline?
Yeah.
Okay, Skyline, Oakland. Okay,
Skyline.
Okay,
Exactly.
All right.
So then I, like I said, I was there for 10 months and then went to Howard and stayed in D.C. after I graduated until 92, until I came out to L.A.
Oh, wow. Okay, because in doing research, I was like, all right, Skyline, I thought in Oakland, and then...
Yeah.
And I was like, was there one in Bloomington, Minnesota?
No. Like I said, I've lived all over the country, but Minnesota was the place I liked, the most. Still have family there.
You're a Vikings fan.
Oh, yeah.
That's why I thought, that's why I said Bloomington, Minnesota is...
Exactly.
You're a Vikings fan,
exactly.
So that's where that's home base right there. Your team, you know what I mean?
Exactly.
Some people in here like the Philadelphia Eagles, but that's okay.
Whatever.
Turn her mic off. Please turn her mic off. Your time at Howard. You don't. Again, I guess they say you don't have to tell us what year you graduated, but was the Howard Hotel a hotel? Because now,
you mean the Howard Inn?
Yeah, I'm sorry, the Howard Inn.
Yeah, the Howard Inn. Yeah. It was a small one.
But it was still a hotel.
Yeah,
it wasn't a bookstore yet.
No.
Okay.
No,
all
not
right,
yet.
all right.
Yeah, this was way back. You know, this was before they built the new
Wonder Bread.
School of B.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. When we first got there, there was no School of B in where it is right now. That was a parking lot.
Really?
Yeah, that was a parking lot, and I still remember the railing. You know, and I think they started on it the next year, or maybe that spring is when they broke ground.
I came in right after you. I did not know that.
Yeah.
I used to, because I lived in Cook, right?
right.
And the bathroom in Cook was horrible, and I used to sneak over.
Oh,
I hated it. They were so clean. And
I know. Yeah, but that wasn't there when I first got there in 81.
Wow. Okay. You have something in common with a previous guest, Roland Buddy Lewis.
Yeah.
You all were both microbiology majors.
Microbiologists, and on the third floor of Drew. He was right down the hall.
Really?
Yeah. And he borrowed my sales book and didn't give it back. but I borrowed his genetic books and didn't give it back either.
I just think it's ironic that both of you, you're both here in Hollywood, and that you're both in microbiology.
Yeah. Well, Buddy was always a funny guy.
Uh-huh.
And, we I guess we both had these, I don't know, I guess unconscious desires to do more than just our degree allowed us to.
Mm-hmm.
He was a little bit more brave, because I think he got into the industry or doing his thing way before I did.
Mm-hmm.
I was still on that career path of trying to become a research scientist.
Okay.
And I worked at NIH, for a while in Bethesda. Then I went to National Health Labs in Vienna as well, and then went to grad school at Howard for genetic engineering. And and I just
I know, I read all this, and I was like, man.
Yeah. But it's
so wait, I just gotta ask, as someone between 1 and 18, like, you had this cognitive dissonance in you right now going on. You got a microbiologist and a comic book writer. Just help me out.
Well, you have to understand. I mean, I was always into science fiction, and I guess the creative estuary, if I can use that term.
Please do.
Didn't define it.
Please do.
Was probably dinosaurs.
Okay.
Because what you have there are real life monsters.
Okay.
Which lend themselves to science fiction stories, this, that, and the other, which led me to other monsters like Frankenstein, werewolves, vampires, things like that.
A book you created, right? Correct? You worked on?
Frankenstein.
I just had to pumping you up. One of his comic books. All right.
Yeah, exactly. So I guess that was the, real science is the way you kind of, sublimate your desire to do something more creative. And you go into the real sciences. And that's what I did. It just wasn't what I thought it would be once I actually got into it. And I remember there were two things that happened. I was working at NIH, and there was a PhD in my laboratory who wasn't even making $30,000 a year. And I was like, okay, well, you don't get into science for the money. You get into it for the love of the discipline, the fascination of discovery, things of that nature. But looking at that, and I was already at Howard, in the master's program, and I had 2 years to finish there. Then I guess to do your PhD, it's like 3 to 7, depending upon how long it takes you to do your research and dissertation, this, that, and the other. And I'm like, man, how old am I going to be? And how much am I going to be making? Like I said, not the money was the main, issue. But then I was in seminar one day, and my professor was like, well, the only thing a master's is going to get you is a job over someone with a BA, not any more money or responsibility. I'm like, you know what? And I remember.
That is sobering.
Yeah, exactly. But I was also in class writing the beginning of my first screenplay. And I said, you know what? I think this is my last day. Pursuing genetic engineering. And I think that was it. So everything's been this concerted effort to get out to Hollywood and pursue that dream. You know what I'm saying?
Wow.
Yeah.
Member of Fraternity?
Oh, yeah. Alpha Phi Alpha Incorporated Beta Chapter.
Aha. see that. You were frat brothers with my homie Stan Barrett.
Yeah. I haven't seen Stan in a while though.
Yeah. A bunch of guys from New Orleans. Who,
Yeah.
Brent, things like that. That's cool. Any alphas in your family that made you want to go out?
No, I am the only one. My father pledged Kappa.
Wow.
But you know
Really?
what?
That's interesting.
Yeah. At Morgan State. Yeah,
At Morgan State. Wow.
Morgan State. I have a cousin who is a Q, but he pledged at some college in Illinois. I don't know which one.
Wow.
But those were the only Greeks. You know what? I think my aunt, I think my aunt Laura and my aunt Grace were AKAs.
Okay.
Yeah. But no one ever talked about it.
No one ever talked
Yeah.
about it.
I hadn't seen any paraphernalia or nothing.
Really?
You know, like my cousin, the first thing I remember is that he had a brand on his arm. I'm like, man, what the heck is that? You know, and it's like, he told me what it was, and I'm like, please, no one's hitting me like that.
So when you came home, it's like, so your dad's like, I'm gonna play.
Yeah. I mean, you know, I guess, you know, he said a couple of
eye rolls.
No. You know, but I guess what it was is that he was looking at it from a different standpoint, because I guess when he was pledging, things were different, and the fraternities were different too. Like for blacks, regardless of what you pledged, that became a networking organization. So if you pledged Kappa or Alpha or Q, it didn't matter. Once you got out into the white collar workforce,
you're Greek.
Everyone, yeah, exactly. You're Greek, and everyone tried to hook each other up because they know there were just only a few of us. But with the advent of the civil rights movement, kicking into gear,
integration,
exactly. And then what happened during the 70s, I guess the importance kind of waned. You know what I'm saying?
It makes total sense.
Yeah, exactly. Because like we had bigger issues, to concern ourselves with, and I understand that. So I did it purely of my own volition. I got there, saw some of the brothers, what they were doing, what they were about, and I just made a decision. That was it. Yeah.
But so when you made when you made the move, well, you said freshman dorm. When I asked about that, you were in Drew.
Yep, Drew.
How was that?
Great experience.
Okay.
Yeah, love it.
Okay.
Yeah. In fact, my nephew was there now. He just finished up his first year.
Okay.
And so, going there and seeing Drew Hall again, dude, how it's changed so much, it's not even funny. I mean, central air. Can you believe it?
Yes,
we baked like, popovers.
Okay.
You
couldn't plug anything in.
Yeah.
Or you put in something electric,
Yeah.
Don't plug anything in.
Yeah,
really?
No.
You ever thought about leaving Howard?
Never. I remember there were times when I got, really frustrated.
But
yeah. I remember my father asked me once because we had such a hard time registering that first year,
as everyone does.
Yeah, man, it was to the point where I was like, "You got to be kidding me!" My father was like, "Well, do you want to come home?" I'm like, "Well, no, it ain't that bad."
It ain't that bad. It's bad, but it ain't that bad.
Yeah, and we were still in. It was still August too.
Oh my God.
So I was only there about a week and a half when he said that. So I was like, nah.
A week and a half? You ready to come home? I thought you were talking like a year or so.
Nah.
You said a week and a half. You ready to come home?
Nah, you know what? I mean, Howard was such a crucible of black achievement, and culture being in, Chocolate City, D.C.
Yes.
So many things were happening during the early 80s and all that stuff. It's like, man, where would you rather be? And so Howard is in D.C. by extension. It's where I became a man. Where you start to meet a lot of brothers like yourself, who had hopes and dreams, about business, just wanted to do something with their lives. You know what I'm saying?
Understood.
And I just had a great time.
Yeah.
Plus the women were so fine that I wasn't going nowhere.
Yeah. and scene. And scene.
There's not one guy that's been on this podcast yet that has not mentioned the women. Not one.
It is unparalleled.
It is.
Yeah.
What day did your Howard hustle kick in? Meaning that day, like, man, Kevin is hungry and Kevin has no money. What is Kevin going to do that nice Kevin wouldn't do?
Oh, man. You know what? You know, I can't really say, because if you're talking about just survival instincts, yeah, it's when I started bouncing.
Okay.
Yeah. When I started bouncing for some extra money, you know. But there were other things that we used to do for extra money too. Like I remember, we used to go down to RFK, and we used to sell pretzels. You know, and you know, you make roughly $36 a box. You know. Well, not $36 a box, $36 a day, because you would get $6 a box, and on the average you would sell Lord. 6 boxes. Yeah.
Oh God.
So yeah, man. So that was something. You know.
30.
Yeah, exactly. So,
you said a box. You say, oh no, I'm sorry. That's a day.
Yeah.
A day.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, but I guess it was stuff like that. You know.
Okay.
That answers the question.
Tell us about your Howard to Hollywood story. I mean, you said '92 is when you made the move.
Yeah.
There's a lot. There's a lot with you. You went out. Basically, we do know it starts with the day at NIH. It's like, you know what? I'm gonna do this script. So from there, what happened?
Yeah. Well, I was in the Stay in School program when that happened. I guess I'm trying to remember what. I think the impetus was really. I saw She's Gotta Have It. And it was funny because, you know, I tried for an internship at Howard's Hospital. Okay. Trying to see whether or not I really wanted to be a doctor. And man, I went through the hospital and saw, I think there was throw up on the floor or something like that. I am like, you know what? I don't know if I could be a doctor. You know, research, that's one thing. I can do that. But, you know, I just really wasn't sure. And like I said, I'd always liked comic books. Okay. And I remember trying to, you know, I had a couple of people I knew who tried to break into Marvel Comics. And I said, well, that's interesting, you know, because there were a couple of artists, you know, I think at Marvel that everyone was aware of. One was Joey Cisse. I don't know if you remember him.
Oh, I know Joey Cisse.
Yeah. And then there was Paul Davies.
Yeah, I know Paul.
Exactly. He's over at Sony now, I think. You know.
Yeah, Paul's over at Sony.
Yeah,
could
exactly.
be a guest here for the.
So they used to do political cartoons, and I used to do a couple of political cartoons. Okay. For the community news back then.
Yeah. Okay. The community news. Yeah.
Yeah. Exactly. But I was thinking, you know, is this possible? And so when I saw She's Gotta Have It, I was like, now wait a minute, man. I mean, you could have told me this brother did this movie with credit cards. And it's on the screen, and like, I never thought of that, you know. Yeah. But here I was, you know, a little while from graduating, because I was on the extended plan. You know, and it's like, wow, this might be something I wanted to pursue. So I started researching it, and there was no way for me to change my major, you know, and really learn. So what happened is that when I applied for grad school, while I was at NIH, I also congruently took television and film courses. Okay. And my plan was, whichever discipline won out, that was going to be the one that I pursued in earnest. So, like I said, that moment I had in a seminar, when my professor said what he did, that's when I knew. It's like, you know what? It's film. You know, it's film, and that's what I'm going after. So that's what happened.
I wasn't prepared at that moment, because I was... She's Gotta Have It came out like 86, 87.
86.
I remember seeing that movie, and it did kind of do the same for me. It's like, wait, we can do this? He did a lot. Him doing that movie inspired.
I mean, say what you want to about Spike Lee. He inspired a generation of new filmmakers, black and white. Yeah. And I think what he did is he demystified the discipline.
The magic, exactly. The magic, always magic.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, because I never even thought of that. Never crossed my mind until I saw this. Yeah. Then read his interviews, and it's funny. Last year, I was at Amazon pitching another animated series, and so I walk in, and you know, there's this guy, you know, peering over the couch, looking back. He said, "What's up?" And I walk in, I'm like, who's this Spike Lee looking bug? You know, and
that's funny.
Sit down, and who is it but Spike Lee? I'm like, oh man. So I remember saying, I ain't gonna say nothing, you know. You know, but this is the cat who inspired me. So I said, you know what, screw it. So I said, excuse me. And he said, yeah. He stood up, And I said, I just want to let you know that I admire your work a lot, and you actually inspired me to become a filmmaker. And that's why I'm here. He's like, oh, really? It's like, yeah. So, we've been keeping in touch.
Okay.
So, it's kind of cool to have that happen, and to, look at another brother and say, hey, he acknowledges your work, and makes an overture towards keeping in touch, and I like that. So, I made the right decision.
No,
yeah,
no doubt.
made the right decision.
What was your first script? What was the first script?
The first script I wrote was something called Arms of Bronze, and I don't even think I can tell you what it's about now.
So that first thing you look back and be like,
yeah.
You're like,
But my next one was a sci-fi thing.
Okay.
And which is what I'm really known for, and what my passion really is. I think that other script was just a bit of a cathartic exercise in trying to build my skills or see what I could do, see where I was, which was nowhere,
Okay.
But it was a learning experience. And so, after that, I did a couple of sci-fi things, but nothing ever happened. I mean, I had been in Hollywood for almost 10 years before I sold my first script. Okay. And I had other successes in, the acting realm. I did a bunch of commercials. Like, there was a time when I was doing a national.
Because you are you're an actor too.
Yes.
I mean.
Okay, yes, but.
I'm sorry.
I'm not an actor. You know what I'm saying? Yeah.
An actor.
Yeah. I'm just a big brother with a heavy voice who had a certain look, and it's like, okay, we can use this. And I've been able to parlay that into other things, like doing stunt work too.
If it gets you the residual.
Yeah.
If it gets you the residual.
Exactly. Get you a SAG card or whatever. You know what I'm saying? So it's like you basically use everything that God has given you, both mentally and physically, to basically build your career or whatever, and then you expand that to create different revenue streams for yourself.
Exactly.
So here I was, I'm going to say it, I was kind of myopic, when I got out here, say, well, I want to be a screenwriter. Don't want to get, in front of the camera. Then it's like, well, in front of the camera ain't bad.
Yeah.
Then you start doing voice work. And, that was interesting.
Uh-huh.
Then, okay, I'm doing, writing scripts, but what about animation? And, you start seeing, okay, well, producing too.
Yeah.
And so now I want to direct,
Yeah.
And so everything kind of, works together.
It does.
You
kind of come out here with this idea. I mean, my idea was like, what you coming out here?
I
got the screenplay. Everybody come out here. I got the screenplay.
Yeah.
You need it. Hollywood, y'all been missing out on this.
Exactly.
And then everybody says no.
And it's rough too, because a lot of people think that, you're taking a chance, that's not going to happen because, people, I mean, how many people did I know before I came out to Hollywood who had tried to be an actor or a writer or whatever, and when you're a big fish in a small pond, you see that, well, not many people make it or have the wherewithal to stick with it. Reality or their plan B steps in and basically tells them, you better, grow up, get real, and get a real job, whatever that means, But, you have to stick it out, and you see what happens. I mean, it's not a race, it's a marathon, and that's what you have to look at it.
It's a marathon. So you writing scripts, your first big sale is what?
Underworld. Yeah, exactly.
Which is nothing just to say. We don't sneeze at. That's Underworld.
Yeah.
You say like Underworld.
Yeah. That was cool for me. It didn't start with me. What happened is that I knew the director.
Okay.
And
Lynn Wiseman.
Lynn Wiseman.
Okay.
He was a buddy of mine, and we had written another script together, kind of. And I remember he was directing music videos at the time, and so he had gotten with ICM as his agent, but they were basically sending him trash, as his first directing project. But I think he had a meeting at Dimension Films, I think it was.
Yes.
And they wanted to do a werewolf movie because Blade did so well for vampires.
Yes.
So I remember he called me and he says, well, do you have anything? I'm like, werewolves are tough because werewolves aren't sexy. And I don't mean in the sexual sense, but they're not necessarily cool because they're inhuman. You see what I'm saying? Yeah. And so, and besides, there's only been 2 werewolf movies after a history of cinematic lore that you can really point to that have been any good, and that was The Howling. Yes. And American Werewolf in London. Uh-huh. And what they did was something unprecedented at the time, which was have, essentially bipedal snout-nosed werewolves, even though I think the werewolf in American Werewolf in London did walk on all 4s, but even that was different. Yes. You know what I'm saying? So I said that, well, if we make this bipedal werewolves, I'm down. So after talking about it for a week, I came up with an idea that he seemed to really like. And so, he said, let's get together. We got together and spent all day hammering out the story. Mm-hmm. And then I said, dude, I heard of a bad situation with a buddy of mine who went to a producer with one idea. Mm-hmm. And that producer shut him down, and he had nothing else to talk about, and the meeting was over. And that was his last time he was able to talk with that producer. And so I said, we have to have another idea. He was like, well, I don't have anything. Like, what do you have? He's like, well, I've been thinking. And I said, just hear me out until I finish. Mm-hmm. And I said, what if we did a Romeo and Juliet story? Mm-hmm. But instead of Montagues and Capulets, we have werewolves on one side, but vampires on the other. And make it like this surrealistic, interracial love story that spans a centuries-long race war. And he just looked at me and then looked at his feet and was like, oh, dude, I don't know, man. Is that going to work?
Really?
Yeah.
This is why we need diversity, Les.
Yeah.
You get ideas like this.
Exactly. Exactly. And so the rest is history,
Yeah.
And so, and that opened a lot of doors for me. So,
one or two, huh?
Yeah.
One or two French doors got open for you.
Yeah, exactly.
Who is
exactly.
it? Oh, that's Kevin.
Yeah. But man, I mean, it's like I said, it's a marathon, and
yes.
It's hard because you know how producers are. Mm-hmm. They like things that are immediately discernible and can be visualized immediately. So if you say something that's a little esoteric, they might not get it right away. And to them, they're kind of like the POV of the audience. It's like, if I don't get it, they're not going to get it. So you're going to have to dumb it down. Now, I don't believe in that, but they are the gatekeepers, and you have to get by them, and you have to pitch them. And if they don't get it, well, you're sunk, which is why I think independent film is such a boom to the cinematic industry.
Yeah. Because you get ideas that you would never ever see.
Exactly. And, I don't think, Hollywood likes things that, to coin a phrase by Joel Silver, they like things that are generically different. They are the same, but they're different enough that we can say, okay, this is like that, but it's different. And here's what we can do. Yeah. And I think, that's unfortunate. I mean, I understand what he's saying, and I think there's some truth to that. But I think that's why you have the litany of remakes that you have right now. Movies don't even need to get remade; they're remaking them.
Man, this is a remake. It's a TV remake of Lethal Weapon right now.
I know, man. Yeah. And everything now is essentially metrics. They use formulas and metrics to decide what they should produce, things like that. And I think that's very creatively stymieing. But, unless you have your own ideas or your own money, that's it. Like, I did a movie called I, Frankenstein, which was horrific. But the script was great, and the producers just hacked it up.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, and it's like, and I remember hearing, well, Kevin, if we don't get this right, we're dead. Well, we died.
Wow.
And it's like, the idea is still in play because I got something else brewing. Mm-hmm. But the thing is, that could have been a franchise that was bigger than Underworld. Wow. If they had done it. Right. Yeah, had they done it right.
Wait, before, because I want to get to your comic book companies. I got a question. What happened when they said yes to the idea of Underworld?
It went through several producers. and it got turned down by everybody, up to and including Lakeshore, who actually green-lighted it. You know, they passed on it twice. What happened, this gentleman named Skip Williamson, he got a hold of the script because Lynn was directing a music video for his record company that had been bought by Lakeshore. So he wanted to get into producing. So I guess Lynn's best friend said, well, you know, my friend Lynn has a script. And he gave it to him, and he was like, wow, this is great. Let me give it to my people. Not knowing that it had already been to Lakeshore twice. But it went through the back door. So it got a yes from different people inside the organization. So when it got to the top guy, he was like, well, I already passed on this. And they were like, well, why? And then that caused some internal turmoil that made them say, you know what? We're going to take the chance, and we're going to do it. So that's what happened. But the fear was you have a first-time director, first-time writer, and an idea that had not been done before. Maybe people thought of it, you know, because the idea it's not like I came up with the idea myself. I mean, you had the House of Frankenstein, which had, you know, Frankenstein, Dracula, and the werewolf fighting. House of Dracula did too. Then you had Frankenstein meets the Wolfman. So, you know, the idea of monsters fighting was not a new one. And of course, a litany of, you know, Japanese Godzilla type movies, you know, and whatnot. But it was something that, you know, the way we did it had never been brought to the big screen. And I felt that this was the time, you know, and so.
In a town that has brought us movies like Dude, Where's My Car?
Yeah.
You can't help but wonder why.
Yeah.
How you had to go through all that uphill climb.
But you see, you're not dealing with people who are into genre. I mean, remember, and you've been here a long time, remember how Hollywood felt about the comic book movies. You know, I mean, you know, they derided them.
They did.
I mean, to the point where it was embarrassing. Now everyone's mad at Marvel because Marvel has made the formula work. Now everyone wants something like that.
Everybody wants something.
Yeah. And it's like, see, you know, we try to tell you, you know, decades ago. Now, admittedly, the technology wasn't there to do all of these movies the way they're being done now. But I do think the characters were there to at least do them in animation form, you know, 2D animation form, where you can start to build, you know, the creative, you know, structure of what we now have as these, you know, comic book universes. They could have done that. They really could have, yeah.
Now, Darkstorm.
Yes.
Your company.
Yes.
That came after, you formed that after Underworld?
Okay. Yeah, I formed that after Underworld. And the reason being is because I don't own Underworld.
Okay.
And, you know, the first one you have to get away.
You do.
You know, you really have to give away. So I don't get anything from that.
Uh-huh.
But that's the way it goes. That's the price of admission. So my thing is, Underworld was not a comic book. So I did not create an accompanying IP with my screenplay. Mm-hmm. So that was an object lesson for me. If you want to stay involved in something, you create an accompanying IP that you will always own, and that people will always associate you with. So what I am
please say what an IP is for our audience and my ignorant ass.
Oh, okay. IP means intellectual property.
Oh, I know what that is.
Exactly.
Okay.
You know what that is.
Okay.
Yeah. And so that's the goal, really. And it works especially if you have something that is genre-based. And when I mean genre-based, I mean horror, fantasy, action, adventure, or science fiction. You know, if you have a comic based on that, you know, there is more recognition if you do that. You become a creative crucible more so than you were if you're just a screenwriter. You see, if you're a screenwriter, you can get bounced like a basketball. Like most of these screenplays or these movies that you see are, you know, some guys, you know, write it and they remain the screenwriter. But for these big films, there might be 20 writers.
God,
you know, and it's the last couple of guys or the last guy that gets the love or the credit on screen. The first guy, if he did not have an IP with it, he will get what they call irreducible rights, which means that he will always have at least story credit, you know. But Hollywood is going to play those games with you. You know what I'm saying? So even if you get bounced from your own screenplay, If it's based on your own IP, you get that sole credit so everyone knows where it came from, and then the rest is on them, you see. And I've also used that model to put myself in my own movies, my own films. Because, you know, when you go to these, I mean, I don't know if you act a lot. Do you act at all?
Some, I've done a little bit, but you did that with Ray's character.
Yes, I did that with Underworld. Exactly.
Underworld.
Yeah, exactly. But see what you do, every screenplay you write yourself a part in it. And you don't want it to be too big, but you want it to be memorable. See, if it's too big, then they're going to get somebody bigger than you, you know, who has more of a name to play it.
Even though they can't play it.
Yeah, exactly. But
Snoop could have played Ray's, and that would have you would have cried every day.
Oh man, yeah.
You would have died just a little bit more every time.
Oh yeah, you know, tell me about it. But you know, that was the deal and the price for me, you know, giving up the rights. I played this role, but you have to play it smart. Like a lot of cats I know, right? They're actors, they write this, that, and the other, but they want to be number one on the call sheet. No, I want to be the star. I'm like, you see, now you're being an idiot. You know, don't, you know, put your producers in that position. Take a role that's number 5 through 10. Make sure you get front credits. This role is yours, and they could care less. All you need are 10 lines per film. You're there at the end. You're there all through it. You do some cool stuff. Hey, you build a resume that way. You know, you get residuals, you get paid. You know what I'm saying?
You get paid, you get residuals.
Yeah, exactly. That's all you want. Then you go to the next one and you do the same thing.
And you don't die.
Exactly.
Get to the next one.
Yeah, you see, that's what you want. But it's one of these things where a lot of people let ego get in the way. And, you know, it's sad. It can be sad.
So. But you started Darkstorm.
Yeah.
I Frankenstein came through that.
Yes.
I asked you about the character, the Blue Marvel you did.
Yes.
For Marvel. Was that for Marvel or else for you?
Well, I created that character in part at least when I was a little kid.
Okay.
So yeah, exactly. So it's kind of like, you know, you have your character going up against, you know, Superman, the Hulk, Thor.
Yeah.
You know, all those guys. And so
I mean, he went to Howard, correct?
Yeah.
The character went to Howard. The character
well, actually, he taught at Howard.
He taught at Howard.
Yeah. But he went to Cornell. Yeah, exactly. And so, you know, my thing was the way I create, and I guess, I don't know if this is a secret or anything, I think other creators probably do the same thing, but the way I do specifically is that I try to look for holes in the marketplace. What are obvious things that you would like to see that have not been done? You know, and when you start putting in the African American aspect into the equation, a lot has not been done, and they really don't want to do them. You know what I'm saying? And so the thing is, it's like, well, they're not going to ever think of these things, so you're going to have to present it to them. So with the Blue Marvel, I had the idea, you know, what if, and this is something that I think a lot of people have thought of before. You know, when you look at Spider-Man and Iron Man, how do you know who's under that mask, what color they are? You don't know. You know, unless someone tells you.
Yes.
So with the Blue Marvel, the question was, you know, what if Superman were black? How would he be perceived? You know, and this character wore a mask that covered his whole body, face, everything, so no one knew. But after he saved New York from certain destruction, and his mask was ripped and his costume was ripped, everyone saw that he was black. It was like, oh my goodness.
Yes.
Like, you know,
hey,
and remember, the story takes place, or the original story took place in 1962.
Yeah, I know.
So,
I got the book.
Exactly. So it's like, back then, you know, they weren't too fond of us.
Yeah,
you know.
It's like, as Kennedy was concerned. Kennedy was all concerned. Exactly. Like, man, I don't know about this.
So basically, Kennedy was like, well, you know, I'm trying to get civil rights pushed forward, but if they knew you existed or you're still around,
I can't have flying.
Yeah, exactly.
I think there was an actual line in there, right?
Exactly.
I can't have black men flying in the air.
Exactly.
That.
Exactly. Just... And so, you know, for the good of the country, he was asked to stand down and retire. You know, and so, you know, it caused, you know, somewhat of an uproar. I mean, I have friends of mine who were like, dude, you shouldn't have given that to Marvel. But, you know, I couldn't afford to do something like that on my own. And it works in the context of a larger previously created universe. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And it adds to the mystery. I mean, if you're a comic book fan as a child, it opens you up to a world of creativity and ideas that is going to be hard for you to parallel anywhere else. You know, I mean, when we were young, didn't have the internet.
Yeah.
So we used to read the encyclopedia. You
Yeah.
know, and so you get ideas that way. You know, my mother had a bunch of books that she got from the Minneapolis Public Library System, where you had Man Child in the Promised Land, Wretched of the Earth, things like that.
Yeah.
So you grew up reading this, and it's like, okay, that kind of informs your intellectual lexicon as far as social issues, what goes on in science, just the world history, things like that. And so, bringing all that together,
Yeah.
to do something.
I have a quick question.
Yes, ma'am.
I'm fascinated by all this because like the brain of a child doing that. What made you then major in microbiology? Like, what made you, if you thought of this as a kid, then what made you say, well, I'm going to go and do microbiology?
Well, like I said, it was kind of sublimation. I mean, it's a situation where, sublimation is where you do something that's more socially acceptable than what it is you really want to do. So instead of doing, that thing, well, instead of becoming let's say this is a silly example, but, you're not going to get your parents, they're not really going to be proud of you if you become a lumberjack chopping down trees. So instead, you do something like, I'll become a surgeon. You know what I'm saying? Because I'm still able to cut things like that. You know what I'm saying? I mean, I know that's kind of silly, but you understand the analogy. Yeah.
I mean,
so
I wish I had, if I had somebody around me to guide me to this.
Yeah.
And I'll say my mom told me communications, but she still didn't know how to direct me.
Exactly.
So I ended up being going into architecture because that made common sense. You know what I mean? And when you're raised by a teacher and a bunch of other teachers or their friends,
Yeah,
it's
exactly.
just normalcy, especially when you're black. So yeah, it's
Yeah,
like,
exactly. And, and the thing about it too,
man, our kids have the life now because they can dream forever now.
Exactly.
I want to be a painter.
And your
Jesus
parents
Christ.
do that because they want you to be safe.
Yes, that's
You know
all.
what I'm saying? But they didn't count on even the regular jobs going away.
Exactly.
You see, and there's no such thing as true security anymore. So you might as well go for what you love. And that's just the way it is. I mean,
I laughed at Diddy.
Yeah,
I laughed at
exactly.
it.
I mean, really, I think, for black folks, our ultimate problem is a lack of information. A lack of information, and there's no one there to show us the way or say, there's another world opened up out there that you should think about. Like, well, you're going to, it's not like there haven't been black filmmakers before. But
Yes.
it wasn't until Spike Lee.
That we were.
Yeah,
you didn't know this.
exactly. And that's no one's fault, but it's just out there. And then, like I said, our parents want us to be so safe.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, do something like this. And to be honest, I mean, I'm going to say this. I think that, like with whites, a lot of whites I know who are into genre just like I am, their parents tell them no too. The thing is, they know that they can break the rules starting at like 14 and whatever. But if you're black, Asian, or Hispanic, we listen to our parents well into our 30s. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Just out of respect. So if they say, well, you're not going to make any money doing that, don't go that way, go this way. You're like, well, yes, ma'am, yes, sir.
Yes, you're right.
I mean, that's the way it is, And there was no one for our parents to point to where they could say, okay, so-and-so is doing something esoteric.
Yes.
Therefore, why can't my son or daughter? So it's different. And then, the world has opened up. I remember once, my brother and I got into a little lightweight argument because he had a little brother who wanted to go into video game production. Now, this was in 89, I think.
Wow.
And I said, I don't know if you should have told him that, dude. He said, well, why not? He has to learn responsibility. Video games are, are nowhere. He needs to, if he wants to go into something like that, go into computers and do this. That's more realistic. I'm like, well, you don't know, man.
You don't know.
And here we are, almost 30 years later,
$1 billion industry.
and it is $100 billion industry a year. Video games make more money than the film industry combined. You see what I'm saying? So you never So you never know what is going to make money. That's why, America, land of the free, home of the brave, land of opportunity. Yes, it is.
Yes, it is.
It's because true. You never know. So
yeah, because writing scripts, not you writing scripts for
exactly.
I mean, the first player stuff. So yeah, I remember when they had it in Written By. They had a big article on the video game, and I was like,
yeah,
really? So yeah, we are. It is a different time, man. It is a different time, and like I say, our kids are able to, they're learning.
Yes,
man. We got this little thing we call running with the Bison.
Running with the Bison, okay.
So it's going to some random fun.
Yeah,
Nothing about the entertainment. It's just strictly coming at you with these questions, and you, for yes, you will say Kevin. For no, you will say Kev out.
Okay.
I will run these questions by you, and
right.
just fun.
Okay.
If we don't have fun, don't blame me. Let's go. Skydiving.
Oh man, Kevin.
Wow.
Yeah.
Man,
I've done hang gliding, so.
Whew.
Yeah.
I don't trust gravity. Gone on a blind date.
Kevin, that's how I met my wife.
Wow.
Yeah.
They do work.
Yes, they do. They've been together for what, 20 years, 22 years, something like that. Yeah.
Wow. Flown in a helicopter.
Kevin, I've done that too.
Skinny dipping.
Kev out. Roger and Wilco.
Roger and Wilco. Wait to see what that was going to be. Had to pay a fine in the past 6 months?
Kev out.
Witnessed a shooting. You lived in D.C.?
Yeah, I went to the nightclub where there was one. So I guess Kev in.
Owned your dream car.
Kev out.
What is it?
Actually, it's a 64 Riviera. Yeah.
Yes, it's nice.
Black,
of course.
Yeah.
Any no other way. Body piercings.
Got my ear pierced.
All right. Tattoo.
Kevin. Kev out.
And of course, manscaping.
Okay, now what is that?
Oh shit.
He hates when he has to explain.
It is where I guess we shave the nether region.
Oh, Kev out.
This is Rod's favorite question.
And as always, on that note, that's all the time we have.
Okay, good.
It has been great.
Yeah, it's been great, real great.
Kevin, if you have anything's coming up that we know about your TV project?
Yeah. I got a couple of comic books coming out. Dark Storm, that's going to be drawn by Gray Williamson.
Okay.
Mars George, which is a
this on the Dark Storm with Channel 56.
This is gonna be, well, it depends on when we get a movie made.
Okay, all right.
Yeah, that depends. But it's through Dark Storm Comics, something coming up called Ezra, which is another Dark Storm comic. Then I have a couple on Comixology, and I go to several conventions a year.
Okay.
I just got back from Comic Palooza.
Okay.
So still doing some TV stuff and some film stuff. So,
all right.
We'll see what happens.
Cool.
All right.
We like to ask our guests to give their best HU call.
HU, you know?
How can we reach you, man?
Give me a buzz, cuz.
You know what? That's real. But if on Facebook, I know if you want.
Yeah.
Kevin said, "I don't want to be reached, damn it."
Hit me up at Facebook. I got a website, KevinGrevioux.net. I guess I'm on Instagram, but I don't know how to work it really.
Yeah, I joined Snapchat and I still don't know how to use it. So yeah, it's something.
Yeah, I guess Twitter too. I don't know how to work that either.
So Facebook might be the best place to reach you, man.
I think that's about it. That's all I'm bringing in.
Okay, all right. Hey, man, thanks for taking time out of your schedule to come. This has been
anytime, brother.
This has been very entertaining. Please look for the Bison Chats every Monday on iTunes, and feel free to post your comments, questions, racial epithets. No, I'm kidding about that part. On Twitter, reach us on Twitter at KRG Bison Project using the hashtag Bison Chats. Always, I got to shout out Eric L. Powell Jr., aka ELPJ, and Jay Blanco, who provided the Bison Chats theme song. Chris Fry, our amazing social media coordinator. Hilliard Guest, our production consultant. He's not a Bison, but we still like him. Shouting out Daimonique Drummond, our Bison Chats intern for the day. Also not a Bison, but she is from Philly. And we like her. We really, really like her. And as always, to my esteemed executive producers, Stacey Alfonso and Kelly R. Griffin. Yes. It's a Howard Stern thing. Again, I'm your host, Rod. Email, you can find me at BisonChatHost@krgbisonproject.com. And if you wake up, people, you got half a chance. I'll see you next week on the Yard.